You and the defendant lived together for 25 years. Reason that you never married?
No.
Any reason?
Waiting for financial things to come together. And
That was quite a wait.
yeah,
In any event, this 25-year relationship ended badly, and it is your claim that the defendant stayed in an apartment that you had lived in together. I believe your name was the only name on the lease, but you lived there as a couple together. For how many years?
I lived there since I was 6 years old. My parents were actually the ones on the lease, and when my father passed away in 2007, we moved back in. We were out in our own apartment, moved in, took over the rent.
Because the rent was more reasonable and the apartment probably
Definitely.
better.
Yeah.
Okay. And the breakup was an acrimonious one. And it is your claim that the defendant stayed in the apartment
Yes.
with one of your children,
yes, my son.
and that he didn't pay rent in the apartment for several months. And because your name is on the lease, the landlord brought a case against you for the unpaid rent.
Correct.
That's primarily what you're suing for,
Primarily.
because the other part, he's not responsible for. The part where you had to go find, and you went and found the more expensive apartment, well, one of you was going to find the more expensive apartment. Is this a rent-controlled or stabilized?
Yeah, the place that I was in, I was still grandfathered in at 2000.
Yeah, so it was a rent-stabilized, grandfathered, and you were there together, not you.
No,
The two
no.
of you for 25 years.
No, I was there with my family. He moved in with his son in 2007, but I was there with my brother and my parents since I was
just
little.
a second. I thought you were together for 25 years.
We were, but I was in that condo for 39 years, since I was 6.
How long did the two of you live together?
Since 2007 for 16 years.
But you were in a relationship before that, so you lived
Yes.
together in that apartment for 16 years.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me the day that you moved out of the apartment when you had this argument.
May 30th was the first day that I left, and I stayed at my mom's house and in my car, and then went ahead and moved out and got my own place July 1st. So July 1st is when I removed all my belongings.
Had you stayed there at all in the month of June?
No.
Is that correct?
I think there might have been a week in June.
Well, if you think that
Yeah.
she says no,
No.
she says no, and what you may be,
Right.
she wasn't there. Your son was there?
Yes, he was.
All of June, you were there?
Yes, I was.
So you were there June. What about July? Were you there in July?
Yes, I was.
What about August?
Yes, I was.
What about September?
Yes, I was.
October?
Yes, I was.
When did you move out?
I moved out in December.
December what?
I believe it was around the 15th.
So you were there the month of December, because you don't do half months. You were there the month of December. When was the last month that you paid rent?
I was paid up until September 1st, so it was August.
So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 months rent that you didn't pay.
Right.
Why?
Well, when Jessica moved out, the property management came to me with 3 weeks to go in the month, saying that they were going to raise the rent $750.
Because you are no longer grandfathered in under her parents or grandparents or
Right.
whoever lived there. So they were going to raise your rent $750.
Yes,
And they were going to raise it starting what date?
September 1st.
So you said, I'm not paying the increase.
No, that's not correct.
So you just didn't pay anything.
No, I
Well,
filled-
that's what I said. When was the last time you paid rent? You said September 1st. So I'm just curious. If he was going to raise your rent by $750, was going to make it $2,750, and you said, I'm not going to pay the increase.
No, I agreed to pay the increase. We filled out a new application.
Okay, great. So when did you start paying the increase?
We didn't pay the increase.
Okay, so you didn't pay rent, and I'm asking you why.
I had a heart attack,
You had a heart attack on what date?
August 20th.
When did you sign the new lease?
We didn't sign the new lease. We filled out an application. Yeah.
Okay. After your heart attack, on what date did you go back to work?
It was
Careful, because it's very easy to verify.
3 weeks after.
So you went back to work sometime in September,
Yes.
and you didn't pay October, November, and December.
No.
Why?
Here's what the reason I did it. We filled out an application for a new lease. We agreed to pay the new rent. After this, he comes to me and says, now we need another $3,000 for a security deposit. And all this time, I have 3 weeks to come up with all this extra money on top of the regular rent. I couldn't afford it.
Okay. And then they evicted you, I assume.
They didn't evict me.
You just left.
My name isn't on the eviction.
Shh. Are you still in the apartment?
No.
So you left
Yes.
in December, on December 15th. That's what you told me a moment ago.
Yes.
But you didn't pay any rent. October, November, and December. Any.
Yep.
Well, there's no excuse for that. You're living in an apartment, you're not paying rent. It's not reasonable for her to pay rent in her apartment, where she's now living, and your apartment. You find that reasonable?
No, I didn't think it was reasonable the way they. I wasn't given reasonable time to come up with the money.
Neither was she. You had a fight.
She
had
chose to leave.
She chose to leave because it wasn't working anymore.
Right.
So you have two choices. Either you leave or she leaves. Without getting into all the bad stuff of what happened,
Right.
which I don't think is absolutely necessary, this is just a question of morality and justice. So you each had your own obligations. She had to move and find a new place to live that was going to be more expensive than where you are. I assume she paid rent. You chose not to pay rent. How is that fair? How is that balanced, sir?
She didn't pay no rent.
No. She's going to show me proof that she was on the lease during that period of time. The landlord is going after her for the rent money. She's going to show that to me. Again, does that sound fair and reasonable to you?
No, it didn't sound fair and reasonable that I wasn't given a suitable amount of time to come up with $5,000.
That's between you and the landlord. What does that have to do with her?
They don't have nothing to do with her.
But
I'm not on the lease.
Can I see the notice that you got from the landlord?
Yes, there's the eviction against me with all the documents you need.
This is not a signed judgment.
That's not the judgment.
It's not signed.
I think that's the copy the lawyer gave me. So yeah, I might not have the signed copy with me.
Well, you're supposed to bring the signed copy with you. Okay. There's no question the rent was due. There's no question that the eviction proceedings were for money, so that whatever monies are transferred will be transferred to the owner of the condo, because that's to whom it is owed, correct?
The property management company, yes, ma'am.
Okay. The second part of your lawsuit is that damages resulting from eviction and abuse. What is that about?
It was the difference of the rent from the condo to the new place because I was forced out.
Okay.
With police and everything else, I was out a lot of money.
That's not his problem. Somebody was going to be forced out of this apartment, either you or him.
But I'm the one that had to call the cops, and I have police reports, and he's the one that was abusive. I had no other choice but to leave my family's home.
Well, it was your family home. You lived like a family for 16 years. You weren't hospitalized as a result of this incident, correct?
No, ma'am.
You didn't see a doctor as a result of this incident, correct?
No.
You don't have any photographs to show me as a result of any injuries, correct?
No physical injuries, ma'am.
What you are complaining of is that he would talk to you incessantly, wouldn't let you sleep, right? I read it.
There was a
Unfortunately,
lot more than that, ma'am.
There was no physicalness between the two of you that I read here.
There was yelling, spitting, throwing things, and picking up the bed that I was sitting on and slamming it down, and just anything but putting physical hands on me to avoid the police.
Well, he's not paying for your new apartment, and you're not going to pay for his new apartment. Anyway, the resolution of this case is easy: $6,063, and the check will be made payable to property management. Okay, thank you very much.
I don't call it living for free. If you're going to treat me like I'm a tenant, then you gotta treat me like a tenant. You gotta give me a 30-day notice.
I do feel Sam owed me some money for everything that I had to spend leaving the place.
You gotta give me all the stuff that comes along with being a tenant, instead of just skipping away.
I wouldn't have had to leave if it wasn't for his abuse, so.
Better to part ways.
Time to take care of me.
When you said you lived together for 16 years, she kept referencing it as her family home, which I understand the history, and she lived there since she was a child. But when you live there with your partner for 16 years, that becomes your shared family home. Like you said, someone was going to have to leave, and someone was going to have to pay more rent. So,
But
at the end of the day, someone was going to have to leave.
Right. And the landlord, the person who is supposed to get the money, will get the money because they're the people who are out the rent.
Yeah.
And he had an obligation to pay rent. He just knew he wasn't responsible for it legally, and they couldn't go after him for it, so he just didn't pay it. Well, can't do that. It's not right.
Man, this case is honestly depressing. 25 years together. 25. That's longer than some marriages survive. And after all that time, it ends with unpaid rent, police calls, eviction court, and 2 grown adults arguing over who destroyed the relationship more. That's brutal. But let's be honest here. The boyfriend completely lost me the second he admitted he stayed in that apartment for 4 months without paying rent. That's crazy. You stayed there September, October, November, December, not paying a dime. Meanwhile, she's already forced to move out and start paying for another apartment. How do you justify that? And his excuse was basically, well, the landlord wanted more money. Okay, welcome to adulthood. Everybody's landlord wants more money. Judge Judy was looking at him like, so because you didn't like the rent increase, you just decided rent became optional? That man was living in the apartment like a ghost tenant. Lights on, roof over his head, still sleeping there every night. But the rent? Apparently that became somebody else's problem. And the worst part, he knew the landlord would come after her because her name was on the lease. That's what makes it grimy. Because legally, he could just walk away while she got stuck holding the bag. That's foul. But at the same time, the woman wasn't completely innocent either. The way she kept talking about my family home. Judge Judy had to remind her, Mom, this man lived there with you for 16 years. At some point, it stopped being just her home. It became their home. That's reality. You can't live with somebody for nearly 2 decades, build a life together, raise kids together, and then suddenly act like they were just some random guest sleeping on the couch. No, that was basically a marriage without paperwork. And honestly, that's the saddest part of this whole case. 25 years. No marriage, no legal protection, no backup plan, nothing officially tied together. So when everything exploded, it turned into survival mode. And you could tell this breakup was toxic as hell. Screaming, police calls, spitting, throwing things, picking up the bed and slamming it. That house sounded emotionally dead long before the breakup happened. Both of them were done with each other. Judge Judy didn't even want to spend time on the emotional drama because she already saw the real issue immediately. Who owes the rent? Simple. And the answer was, the man living there rent-free for months. That's why the judgment was smart. The money didn't even go to the woman. It went directly to the property management company because they were the ones actually owed money. And honestly, that was the perfect ending because this wasn't really about revenge. It was about accountability. You don't get to sit in somebody's rent-stabilized apartment for 4 months pretending bills don't exist just because the relationship ended badly. That's not heartbreak. That's freeloading. And Judge Judy absolutely nailed him for it. But this case should honestly scare people. Because this is exactly what happens when couples spend decades playing basically married without actually protecting themselves legally. Once the relationship dies, everything becomes messy. The apartment, the bills, the kids, the money, the history. All of it turns into war. And after 25 years together, that's one hell of a sad ending. If you want more raw courtroom breakdowns with real human reactions and zero fake sugarcoating, support the channel, subscribe, and drop a comment. Was the boyfriend wrong for staying there without paying rent? Or was the landlord situation unfair to both of them?